What's going on, peeps? Okay, look at this. I'm going to show you a couple of things that seem like they're not directly involved with Vietnam, but they are, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. I do like this nightlife. This is one of the oldest cities in Vietnam, and the picture's beautiful. It's again, Vietnam's another place that I anticipate visiting when the time is right. All right, you guys. So kind of let's get into this. As a quick reminder that Pimpy's Investment Chat is the same name as my YouTube channel, and I encourage everybody to come join us. It is growing quickly. It's only been open for a few months, and already we're at 3,000, getting ready to be at 3,000 members. So congrats to everybody that's there. If you follow, I'll leave a link in the description. If you follow, you can come join us. In here, we talk about everything from the Iraqi dinar to the Vietnam dong, of course, the Zim dollar, gold, silver, cryptocurrencies, as well as other currencies. So please come join us. It's free to join. As a matter of fact, a good chunk of what most of you guys are paying for in so-called Patreon groups are being shared in this group. So why pay for when you can just come here for free? All right. So look, somebody that I'm friends with on Facebook is Daza. I'm stealing one of your articles, my friend. But anyways, he had this interesting article about Tanzania's president canceling $10 billion worth of Chinese loans, refers to the terms and conditions as one that can only be accepted by a drunken person. Now, for those you don't know, I told you about China. China had this thing called China 2025, in which they planned world domination. That's the truth. They wanted to be dominant in trade, have dominant in currency, dominant in military, and so that was their goal all along. So what they started doing is going to poor countries, and then they would bribe your politicians. They would bribe the politicians and get them to accept these loans with some unbelievable terms and loans that these people knew they could not pay back. But since the politicians were so corrupt, they went into these deals. And basically what happened is for a lot of these countries, especially in Africa, what they would do is this. If you can't pay back your loans, then you would agree to do something like allow China to take over one of the main ports in that country, and then they would flip that into a military base. And China's done this everywhere. So China just didn't do this in Africa. They done this everywhere, and that includes in the United States with their own politicians. A lot of Democrats sold out to, not just Democrats, let me take that back, Democrats and Republicans sold out to the Chinese Communist Party. They absolutely did. Allowing, they wanted to allow Huawei in here, which we find out has a lot of some really national security problems because it kept track of all the data that we would be doing and sending it back to China so they can monitor us. We also know that they have donated a ton of money into our colleges and were willing to pay absorbent amount of tuitions, which drove tuition up for everybody, only with the agreement that they would bring in certain teachers, and as teachers taught our students a lot about socialism, which leads to communism. As we know, as a matter of fact, it's hard to find a conservative view at any of our major colleges. They've taken it over, and they've pretty much, taken over the Democratic platform, or the progressive platform, I should say. So that's not surprising. I mean, this just takes common sense. And this free trade was never free trade with them until Trump got there. The free trade was them taking over all the manufacturing, like we see they have, including our medicines. And because of this, we became very vulnerable to China. So, thank God for Trump being in there, because all this is stopping. And not just there, their country is starting to go, you know what, we're not paying back these loans. So this leads to another thing I've been talking about, what's going on in Vietnam. But anyways, in here, he's talking about they signed the Chinese loan agreements that they knew very well they could not pay back within the agreed time frame, but mostly proceeded with the loans just for the kickbacks attached. Our own politicians did this. That's becoming more and more evident. Look at what we call, no vote Joe. You know what I mean? Joe Biden got a $1.5 billion kickback from China. His son sits on the board. We know about that. So it wasn't just the Ukraine that they stole money from and did some corrupt stuff, but Joe Biden and his family, this is all Google. Go Google it. It's all Googleable. So, his son also got 1.5 billion from China. They're just selling out our countries, basically what they're doing. And so they get the money and they think it's fine. And, this decimate our country, decimate our economy by selling out to China. And China's not the only place. I mean, you could Google Joe Biden's brother benefited from a $1.5 billion housing contract in Iraq. So it's not just me picking on him. This is the truth. And as well as there were Republicans. One of them is Paul Ryan, as you know, is part of it as well. And he also had his 2 cents in Iraq. So anyways, this goes on to say, look, these guys got into loans only because they took the bribes, loans that they knew they couldn't pay back. And they did this at the expense of their own citizens and their own countries. So thank God they're starting to get leaders in there. They're going, you know what? No, this is wrong. And we're not dealing with it. So this is going to be a sign of something to come. And what I mean by that is when Vietnam was growing, see, Vietnam was China's China. They sent a lot of their stuff to be made there, and then it was sent back to China. China was slapped a label on it and then sent it back to us. Well, that started to change, and Vietnam's really growing along with Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, the Philippines. They're really starting to grow during the China trade war. And so, there was a lot more companies pulling out and going into these countries. I've spoken about it many times. Well, what they did is they turned their attention over to Africa. Besides that, Africa has a lot of ports and covers a lot of trade routes that these shipping companies use. And basically what China was going to do was force people to pay taxes to use the trade routes on open international seas. That's how big they had anticipating becoming. So, since then, this company or the country is becoming crushed. And I hope Trump doesn't let his foot off their neck. Just continue to crush them, Trump. Seriously, and not just them, but around the world. I told you that countries like Italy and Spain and Japan and all of them are now pulling all of their businesses out of China. Okay, they just realized this was a big move, man, to see the tariff war go on, and then this COVID-19 to just really expose how bad it was with China. So I'm grateful to God that if anything, that's the one thing Trump did expose to the world, is show them that you should not be sending all your manufacturing over there. And there are some things that you just need to keep in country, period. Especially if you're developing hardware, software that goes into our military ships and jets. Okay. So look, this is one of the steps. And of course, if China is threatening them, I will leave a link for you guys to come and read this. But look, they're starting to wake up over there. When you get rid of the corrupt people like we're doing here in the United States, and you get rid of these corrupt politicians, and you drain the swamp, what happens is all these things start coming to surface, and you start to realize just how bad things were. So that's what's happening, okay? So who benefits from, what's this got to do with the Vietnam and all them? It's real simple. Countries are all starting to pull their businesses out of China. They're not willing to deal with them. They're not, this country's talking about not dealing with their loans at all, not even paying them back. So very, very interesting. All right. So here's another article that's very interesting. And like I said before, Vietnam is different than Iraqi dinar. We want to see things that help, want to see great things happening to their economy. So look at pandemic speeds up mergers and acquisition deals with companies because they could buy them cheap right now. You know what I mean? This is a good time. In the first quarter of the year, Vietnam foreign investors. See, this is what we need to happen in Iraq. We need foreign investors to come in there and start investing into the country. If they do this, then they start building businesses there, and the Iraqi people can go to work. So instead of getting entitlements, which draining the funds out of the country, they start working and they start paying taxes. And they don't need entitlements because they're making their own money and they get paid taxes. This helps the growth of Vietnam, well, not just Vietnam, I mean Iraq and Vietnam as well. Okay, so according to the Foreign Investment Agency, the value of the deals in March alone were $1.72 billion. Okay, so according to the Staffing Industry Analysis website, this company here, an online recruitment firm, signed a shareholding agreement in February with Appliancer, a Vietnam company, which owns top development and IT recruitment platforms. So they're going into business. This is what we're looking for. I've been showing you articles galore where there's outside investors that know that Vietnam is now going to be one of the best places to invest into internationally. I'm actually myself looking at mutual funds that are in anything that's got to do with the growth and development of these Vietnam, especially if they can include Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand. If I can find a growth fund that is investing into the development of those countries, if anybody knows any, please let me know, because I anticipate them doing high returns over the next 10 to 15 years. These are mutual funds that I absolutely want to be invested in. So with this reason, Vietnam just continues to grow. Countries are pulling their companies out of Vietnam. People are pulling and ending their deals, their loans with Vietnam. I mean, China. This is good. This is all good for these countries that make up the South China Sea. Okay. So here, look at here. So Vietnam's export value to China is up. So very interesting. The exporting to China. This is the business that Vietnam is doing with China. In other words, they're exporting goods to China is up. So Vietnam achieved a high growth value to China in the first quarter. And this is despite the coronavirus. That's what I'm trying to say. Look, the economy has taken a hit. I don't want you to misunderstand what I'm saying. Vietnam's economy has taken a hit, but what I mean by taking a hit is it's just not growing as fast as it is, but it still continues to grow. Still, even despite the tariff wars, even despite the coronavirus, these countries continue to grow. The only difference is now it's slowed down, is all it is. Slow down, but still continue to grow. This is why I think holding on to the Vietnam dong after the rate change happens is a smart idea. But I am looking for mutual funds that will allow me to invest overseas into these countries because I think it's a great move. Okay, so anyways, the exports to China from Vietnam have risen. And of course, especially when it comes to phones. Yeah, for some of you guys thought that China made your phones. Well, not really. Vietnam is a country that does that. Okay, so look, again, the first quarter, we've seen a lot of great first quarter reports in 2020 for Vietnam. Now, here's another article that seems negative when you first read it, but it's not. So anyways, what it say, Vietnam economy has shifted to a new state, senior experts. The Vietnam economy continues to obtain high growth rate. See that? Continues to obtain high growth rate. But COVID-19 has upset all the key tasks and goals of the government and local authorities at the different levels. So it goes on to talk about, of course, transportation, leisure, tourism, all those types of things are down. And obviously there's a reason why. But my thing is this. People are dying to get the hell out of their houses. People are dying to really get back to work. They're just tired of being in prison in their house. We're seeing protests break out everywhere in the United States. So what do you think is going to happen to these industries? So sure, they're taking a hit. But when people get out of their little home prisons and they're allowed to start traveling, they're going to see a huge spike in traveling. So that's another investment. You guys, right now is a good time to invest in that because that industry might be taking a hit now. Buy on a dip. We know they're going to go up. Okay, we know this is going to happen. So again, if you have the money to do, you should be looking to invest in stuff like this. Tourism, especially overseas, especially in places like Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, you know what I mean? Brazil, Italy, Spain, all over. People are just going to be happy to get the hell out of the house. And there's going to be a lot of people that want to go on vacation to unwind, especially after all this crap. Okay, so look, that's what I'm saying. We should start looking now at which companies have taken a hit and buy on the dip. What is the best companies to invest in Vietnam when it comes to tourism? Which hotel industries? You know what I mean? Leisure industries. Who's going to benefit from us coming out of this slump? Like here in America, we know anything and everything to do with the shares and growth in Las Vegas is going to be huge. You know what I mean? The shares in these hotels that have taken a hit, stuff like that. Transportation there. Anything that's got to do with leisure and entertainment that's taken a hit right now is only going to go up once the COVID-19 stuff is done and over with and we're able to get out and about. So right now you should be thinking that. Hell, there's a lot of people in my group. There's people asking me, what should I do? I got $3,000 to $10,000. Okay, $3,000 to $10,000. That's pretty good. But I've actually talked to a couple of people that have over $100,000 to invest in. So hear me now. Think about this. Once everybody is done being, restricted to their house, in America, the first place people are going to want to go to because it's convenient is Vegas. So start looking at investing into Vegas. Buy on the dip. Hotel chains, food chains, anything that's leisure, anything that's going to benefit and will expand once this is open. Vegas is going to see a huge boom. We're getting ready to go into springtime. We are in springtime and then into the summer, which are the busiest times of the year for Vegas. So just think about that. You know what I mean? You want something short term, something that you could benefit from this bump and then get the hell out because it will eventually retract and it'll make a market correction and it'll come back down. But ride that wave, man. Get invested into Vegas, invested into, travel plane companies, you know what I mean? Because they're all going to see a huge increase in revenue due to the fact that people are going to be able to get out and about. So you want to invest in companies overseas as well, not just the currencies, but look for people who are benefiting from, or people or companies that are taking a loss because of the COVID-19, all right? And ones that you know are going to go up. We know in Vegas it's going to go up. The streets are bare. There's videos on YouTube galore where it looks like a ghost town, all right? That's going to change. It's not going to stay there very long. So I want you to think about it that way. When you think about what you want to invest in from now on, right now is the opportunity. Some of us got the money to do it. Some of us don't. But when it comes to Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, all those, I'm looking for a mutual fund. I want some mutual funds in which I can invest in, because over the next 5, 10, 15 years, they're going to be the hot spot. They're going to benefit from the fact that China is crashing. All right, these are going to be the countries that are going to see an economical boom. If we can get everything stabilized in the Middle East, then you want to look at mutual funds that invest in the development in the Middle East, especially Iraq. All right, so those are only going to see huge growth opportunities. You're going to see huge returns. You know, what you want is one that's at 12% on average. No, I expect them to be 17, 20, if not maybe a little bit higher percent return every year on your money. So yeah, when this rate change happens, I'm going to be looking into mutual funds in which I can jump into, okay? Anyways, you guys, I just wanted to show you this article because this is interesting. The Tanzania president is saying no to the loans. This is just going to affect China economically, because these people are not going to be paying back their loans if they actually pull out of it. If this country starts doing that, means only other countries are going to do it, knowing that they have the protection of a lot of pissed off countries around the world who want to go after China for war reparations. They felt the coronavirus was an attack. So anyways, hit the thumbs button if you agree with me and leave a comment. What do you guys think about this? Mutual funds the way to go. Right now is the time. What about investing into buying on a dip and investing into stocks we know are going to benefit from the fact that people are going to be free of COVID-19 and are allowed to start, the hotels and entertainment industries all open up again. Vegas is going to be the hot spot, all right? Let me know what you think, all right? Talk to you later. Bye.